Hey there everybody, an Autistic Gamer here. Welcome back to my Minecraft series. Apologies for the break-in videos, but well, real life happened and I was very busy off screen. Also, a certain game coming out also tends to take my time away from Minecraft. So that's the thing. But anyways, with that out of the way, let's get on to what we're going to do, shall we? So for the next series of videos, we are going to ramp up production on things. We're going to get some more automatic farms going to help me out with the space, or if not automatic, just farms in general. So today what we're going to do is make a moss farm. And you may be asking, well, what's the point of a moss farm? Well, there's a lot of things that can come from moss farms, as I'll explain now. Welcome to my moss farm diagram that I have made to explain certain things, okay? So what we can do is we'll make the moss farm essentially uses a stone generator and an automatic dispenser dispensing bone meal on top of a separate moss block, and that'll turn the stone into moss blocks. And what we can do then is we can combine moss with cobblestone to make mossy cobblestone, or if I set the moss out and put 4 spruce saplings on it, then it will turn the moss into podzol. If I then dig up the podzol, I can then make it into dirt, which then I can use for any terraforming I'd like to do in the base. Or if I use a water bottle on said dirt, I can then turn it into mud. Combine mud with wheat, I can make packed mud, which will then give me another building block. Or if I put the mud on top of a block with dripstone underneath, it could dry out and form clay, which if I dig and make, instead of clay blocks, I'd turn them into normal clay. If I cook in a smelter, I'll turn them into bricks, which will then give me brick blocks, aka another building material. Or I can just put the clay blocks straight into a furnace, and I'll get terracotta. And of course, combine it with any color, with all the color dyes you can get, and then send that dyed terracotta into another furnace. We get then the glazed terracotta with all its patterns. You get where I'm going here, don't you? There's endless possibilities to come from from a moss farm. It's a bit complicated to make, but the reward is worth it because you get all this possibility just from this. And here is the design of moss farm I'm going with. It is a design made by YouTuber Basic Redstone. Link to the video in the description. It's a self-sustaining farm, so it makes its own bone meal, so I wouldn't have to keep filling it up, and I can turn it on and off. And safe to say, supplies are worth it because you don't just get the moss, you get the azalea stuff, as well as moss carpet and maybe occasional wheat seeds, which you can then put into a separate composter for bone meal. And of course, you can then take the moss blocks and then turn them into podzol, turn it into dirt, turn the dirt into mud, and then bring the mud over here, put them on top of a block with dripstone, and put them into clay. Keep an eye out for these 2 designs. They're in the base already. I've already made them. So this is the design I'm going to make. So let's go back to our survival world and pick a spot for this to go to. Well, here's a spot we can put it down, right by the sugarcane and bamboo farm and by the storage rooms. So that's a pretty good spot to put it, and there's space behind to build something else, maybe a proper stone generator or something. So that's where it's going to go. Yeah. So we'll time-lapse me building that because it is a fairly complicated build. And if you want to follow it, the link to the video is in the description. As I said, designed by Basic Redstone. And of course, when I get the moss and do the thing to turn them into, you know, the other things, as you can see, I've already put the things in place to turn them into podzol, dirt, and clay, mud and clay, because I built them out in this ocean by building a bridge, and of course, it would let me bridge out to that island if I need it, and of course, bridge out over to that bit if I so want to. Well, that part of the design is in, so let's get back to the moss farm, shall we? Here we are, back to where I'm going to build the moss farm. Luckily, the video does give me a list of all the stuff I need, so I've already gathered all of that. Well, that's been gathered, so all that's left for me to do is cue the music and start building this thing. Without further ado, let's get cracking. Well, that's the moss farm built. I did have a problem. For some reason, it wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. But I went into the thing. I went back to my builds thing and realized there was just one thing I had to do to the comparator, and it's all said and done. It is all working nicely, as I can demonstrate here. So I flick the lever, turn it on, put a little staircase there to get it going, and as you can see, it's running nicely. The stone is still getting generated, and it actually squishes the moss to... I don't know how exactly the mechanic works, but basically the stone being generated squishes the moss blocks, and basically mines them as if I was hitting them with a shovel. It then flows onto the top, and then you get the occasional water flow, which pushes them into the hoppers. Some of them go into the chests, as you can see. We've already got a decent supply going, and some go into the composter to refuel the dispenser in there, which is, as you can see in here, using that moss block to bone meal in that moss block to turn the stone up above into moss. And there's a chest in here, so if I check in here, look, you get some of the supplies from that one as well. So that one isn't getting totally wasted. Of course, you can turn it off, but of course I have to go up to put them all away as they get wasted. So that was those little runs. Oh, look at that. Just over 4 1/4 stacks of moss blocks, which is pretty good going, all things considered. And that wasn't a long burst, that was just 2 short bursts. Well, this thing is super efficient, to say the least. So I'm getting a lot of moss from that. Anyways, so I'm probably gonna have to, I'll probably tweak the storage system a bit, make it look a little bit nicer, make them all go into maybe a 1 or a 2 double chests or something. That's for me another time. And I'll probably decorate it so it's like maybe hidden in a big moss building or something, or even a mossy cobblestone building, which probably would fit considering what it is. That's probably what I'm gonna do, cover it in like a building covered in moss. Yes, but then I still got some building supplies left over, so that's pretty good. So now you're probably wondering, well, how do I do the, as you saw in my chart, how do I turn the moss into the eventual dirt and clay and whatnot? Well, let me show you, shall I? So I can bring the moss and then put a stack. This should be big enough for just one stack, and it is. And find in the middle, which is here, and then place the four spruce saplings down, bone meal it, and as you can see, the moss has turned into podzol. And then, of course, now that you got a tree, you can then mine the tree. Give me to get some wood supplies. I always like mining big trees like this, because then you've got a stairway up and then a stairway back down. And of course, when you get rid of the leaves, hopefully you get some saplings back. You then make sure your stubble has not got silk touch. Otherwise, you would just dig out the podzol itself. So you use your non-silk touch pickaxe, shovel, get dirt. You then bring it over here, the dirt down onto this bit. Making sure you actually put them in. Get the glass bottles, fill them up with water. This is why I've put it out here, so it's easy to restock. Click the bottles on the dirt, and it turns them into mud. And then you keep doing this, and then obviously while you're doing this, the mud you have already turned, well, as you can see, it dried out and turned into clay. So, give me a couple of moments and I'll turn all this mud into... I'll turn all this dirt into mud. Hey, look at that. You turn your back for a moment and already two more have turned into clay. Look at that. There's more and more turning into clay. I believe it is random when they do it, because, I mean, that turned not long after I'd done it, whereas that one there was the first one I put down. It's yet to turn. Look, that one I only just done, it's now turned into clay. I don't know if there's any correlation in whether they need to be, if they're spaced out, they'll dry quicker. But they'll still dry all the same, so it still dries all the same, so... and it takes up less space if I do it like this. I mean, obviously I could make it bigger. So instead of doing 1 stack, I do 2 stacks of mud. And make sure you don't click with your shovel or hoe. And just like that, all the mud is now been... All the dirt's turned into mud. So now it's just a case of wait and let all the mud turn into clay. Just look at that. 2 turned right. It's getting a shift on now. Of course, doing this means I'll have more clay to turn into clay blocks to turn into clay, and then I can get bricks to turn into brick blocks to make outline the paths with. So that'd be that done. And I think we've got just enough time to make one more build. It concerns some redstone and farming. So get back over to my build test world and see just what one we're going to build next. And this is it here. This is my contraption here. The blocks you see in between the sets of pistons are crimson nylon and warped nylon. These are blocks you get in the nether, and significant because the stuff we need are plants from the nether, and they only grow on these blocks. The stuff we want are the crimson fungus, the warped fungus, and if we get crimson and warped roots, that's all fine and dandy, but the fungus is the one we want. So how does this contraption work? Well, click this lever that's on the observer, it goes into a target block and activates a redstone circuit that's underneath the warp blocks. In fact, I could probably just take some of these blocks out so you can see circuit. That's the circuit there. Goes into the circuit, it hits this target block, burst, activates bone meal in that, which makes the stuff grow. Then it comes along to this set of pistons, which will push the crimson nylon across to the other set of pistons, in turn harvesting what's on top. And meanwhile, the circuit then goes, well, activates this bone meal machine. It's the same as the other one, dispenser, and does this one. The pistons will activate the same time as the one on the other side, and the same for this one. The circuit then loops back to the other side. It's these dispensers for the bone meal, so you essentially get 2 sets of bursts each side, and then activates the pistons to shove the nylon on the other side, so I get what I want. So click lever, and just like that, we have stuff to collect. And look at that. Did you notice the crimson fungus still grew on the warped nylon? And it'll be the same on the other side. Warped fungus will spawn on the crimson nylon. So there's no set, it's going to be one or the other on each one. They both grow on either side, it's just one's more common than the other. And and some of you may be asking, why am I doing both instead of one? Yeah, just cause. And also the warped and crimson roots can be put into, composters and turned into bone meal, which you can then use to keep this fueled, so to speak. Yeah, 1 click, 2 bursts, I did try and put it on a circuit, but it just didn't seem to be... I mean, I could put it on a circuit, but then how would I turn it off? It'd be hard to turn off, so instead I'm just going to manually do it myself. And just get the stuff myself. I mean, eventually I could probably turn this, you know, I could turn this full automated if I get a certain mob, and then I could make this all automatic if I do everything right. But for now, since I don't have that mob, I've got to do everything manually, so this is the way it's going to have to be. I don't know, I'm probably not going to decorate it with the crimson and warped logs yet, which is why you want the crimson and warped fungus, because they turn into the trees that you get the crimson and warped logs from. So yeah, that's kind of why we're going to build this, so we can get the fungus to keep those trees growing. It should be very useful indeed later on, because I imagine there's going to be builds where I'm going to need to use these blocks. Or even then, the logs and some of the stuff you get from the trees will also be useful. Okay, well, let's head back to our survival world and get building this, shall we? Well, I decided I'm going to put it up here by the crop farms. Hopefully with a bit of a tweak to the design, I should be able to get it to fit within this space. But if not, I can always just take out that path. So, I'm going to do another time lapse while I build this. If you don't want to know how I built it, then just say down in the comments, and if enough people ask for it, then I will make a tutorial video on this. It should be easy to do. But anyways, let's cue the music and let's get building this farm, shall we? Well, there we go. It's all built and running smoothly. See? Watch. All without a hitch. Ish. And no worries. That can be dealt with. And I've already got some decent amount of fungus. And of course, the roots can easily be composted. Well, that's that. We've got this farm and the moss farm all done, as well as the clay bit and the mud dryer and the podzol maker. And speaking of the clay, speaking of the mud and the clay, I wonder how all that's gone. Well, look at that. Got a decent amount of clay now. Still got some mud bits to dry out, including the first block I turned into mud. That's still mud and not clay. Ah, whatever. It'll turn into clay eventually. But it's gonna be it for today's video. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button, comment on anything you want me to build, or if you want me to do that tutorial video on the warped and crimson farms, fungus farms. Leave a comment down below if you want to see me do that, or any build you would like to see me attempt. and attempt being the keyword, because I doubt I can build all of them that people could suggest. And yeah, and also if you like the little tweak I've done to my character. So yeah, next week I think we're gonna do something involving bees next week, which should be fun. So if you look forward to that video. And before you ask, it will be out next week. I know there's a Sonic game due out in between now and then called Sonic X Shadow Generations, and if you've seen my channel, you know there's a lot of Sonic stuff. You know I am a Sonic fan. You probably think that's going to take up time. No, it won't. That game is strictly for streaming, not for my, not for my downtime. So that'll be done for stream, and hopefully I will have some VODs put up on this channel of it, or at least split it into parts of the stream. But we'll see how that goes. But anyways, I'm an Autistic Gamer. Stay safe out there, everybody. Have yourselves a fantastic time. I'll hopefully do a stream on this world at some point here on YouTube, but that's still in the planning phase. But anyways, thank you for watching. I'll catch you all next time, folks. Ta-ta for now.